Welcome to my fifth video of summarization of business data using Excel in my video newsletter Pivot Points, your guide to analytical excellence with Excel. In this video, we will see how to perform the Pareto analysis on sales data. In the last four videos, we have seen how to slice or group and aggregate business data using the aggregation functions within the Excel, namely the SUMIFS function. We have also seen how to do the same thing using pivot table, and in the process we have seen what benefits we can get by using our Excel named ranges. We started off by taking these input data set and we started solving these four problems one by one. We have already solved the first problem, which is to find the percentage of sales that occurs at each store. Then we solved the second and the third problem, which is to find the sales by month and by product respectively. And today we will solve our last question of this business problem, which is what are the products that are responsible for generating 80% of revenue for the company. Must have heard something called as Pareto's 80-20 principle. When we slice and dice data, as we have already done in the last few videos, we sometimes encounter a scenario in which you want to find the set of products that generates a certain percentage of sales. For example, a set of products that generates 80% of sales, or a set of products that generates 50% of the sales for the company. Now, this is a well-known principle called a Pareto's principle, which states that for most of the companies, 20% of their products are responsible for 80% of their revenues. And therefore, the marketing initiatives, the promotional initiatives of the companies generally hover around those 20% of the products. And it becomes very important for the company to know which are those products. We see Pareto's principle playing around everywhere. We see our society, where 20% of the population has more than 80% of the income. We also see, of all possible problems that customers have, 20% of the problem cause 80% of the complaints. So therefore, this is a general observation that we see in almost all fields of business and society. And therefore, it is important that we know how to do this analysis using Excel when we have the input data with us. So just to discuss the Pareto analysis blueprint, this is the input data that you are already familiar with, and we have worked with this input data in the last four videos. We will do a normal slicing of the data, slicing and aggregation. Here our dimension would be product, because we are trying to find out the products that are contributing to 80% of the sales. And therefore we use products as our dimension to create the pivot table. Once we have the pivot table, then we will use the value filter feature of the pivot table to filter out the top 80% of the product contributors. So as we are familiar, this is the Excel sheet that we started with. This is our input data set. This is our input data set. And in the first exercise, we did the percentage of sales that occurs at each store, which is this. We used both the SUMIFS function here and the pivot table here. In the second problem, we had seen how to calculate the percentage of sales that occurs by each month. First, we applied the SUMIFS function using the fundamental principles of slicing and aggregation, and then we did the same thing using. Then we solved the third problem, is what is the percentage of sales contributed by each product, using the SUMIFS and using the pivot table. Now we come to our fourth problem, which is to do the Pareto analysis, which is what are those 20% of the products, what are those 20% of the products that contribute 80% of sales or revenue. Now, just to revisit, we have this name manager already built where we have the list of custom defined variable names for Excel ranges. We have seen how it benefits our calculation in the last videos, and I highly recommend you to use named ranges for any data analysis work that you perform in Excel. So let us start doing the Pareto analysis. Now to start the Pareto analysis, we will simply take the input data set and build our pivot table based on the products and the sales generated by each of the product. So the dimension is product and the metric is sum of sales, and the dimension, which is the product that appears in the rows of the pivot table. So let us go ahead and build our pivot table first. So step 1, build pivot table. Pivot table. So we will go to insert, we will go to insert pivot table. We know that the input data lies in our custom defined range of ds underscore sales, and we will put this pivot table in the location on the cell D10, and we click OK. The moment we click OK, we get the pivot table field list with us, and as we said, the dimension over here is the product, which appears in rows. So product goes in rows and the sale of the product goes in values. So sum of the sales. So this is sum of sales by product. So you get the pivot table. Now we will have to filter out. Now as a next step, we need to filter out only those products. So this is step 2. Step 2 would be to filter out only those products that contribute to 80% of sales. So in order to do this step 2, we would go ahead and here we just change the name of the, so we name of the columns to make it more legitimate one. So this is products and this is sales. Now, in order to achieve this step 2, we go here in this drop down list and we go to what we call as the value filters. If you see, there are two filters, label filters and value filters. In order to do the Pareto analysis, you have to go to value filters and go to top 10, and we instruct the value filter to show the top 80%, top 80%, not items, top 80% by sales, and we click OK. The moment we do that, we get all the products that are contributing to top 80%, to the 80% of revenue. If you simply go back, you would see the total revenue was 9592. So the 80% of revenue comes to around zero point 0.8 into 9592, which is 7673. And these are the products that are contributing to approximately a little more than 80% of the revenue. So this completes, so this is the Pareto chart. This completes the Pareto analysis. So you can straight away infer that safety 1, safety 2, safety 7, safety 8, tape 10 and tape 7 are those products. So with this, we complete the Pareto analysis and we complete our first series of 5 videos on summarization of business data using Excel. In the upcoming videos, we will create some sophisticated dashboards and do some more analysis like the seasonality analysis and the trend analysis using Excel. So stay tuned for my next videos. Thank you very much.